Before we get to episode 156, I'd like to ask for a small favor. If you're doing any shopping at all this holiday season, I really would love you to use my Amazon.com affiliate link. Go to iCantCU.com/Amazon. That will take you to the Amazon.com homepage. Shop as normal, buy whatever you want, maybe buy a little more since you know it'll be helping me out. I do earn a small commission. It doesn't cost you anything to do that, and I really do appreciate it. That's iCantCU.com/Amazon. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support.
From Studio B in Swarthmore, this is the I Can't See You podcast with David. It's like blind people for dummies.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 156 of the iCantCU podcast. My name is David, at David Benj on all the socials. I really appreciate you joining me for this episode, and as usual, I have a lot to talk about. But before we get to it, I have to tell you a quick funny story. I'm re-recording this beginning, and I re-recorded the intro because I used my eyes to look to see what folder I needed to create for this episode. And I thought the last episode was 156. So I created the folder 157 and thought I was going to be talking about episode 157. And that's what I said. And at the end of this podcast, I'll say the show notes are available at iCantCU.com/157. That is incorrect. This is, as I've just mentioned, episode 156. Show notes are available at iCantCU.com/156. I'm going to lead off, as I have been during football season, with a fantasy football update. I'm also going to bring in hockey because I won in hockey and I did not win in football. And that's one thing that's fun, I guess, about fantasy sports in general. But fantasy football, I was going into Monday night, I just needed 5 3/4 points, maybe 5.5 points. I had DK Metcalf playing. I thought, what could go wrong? Well, he didn't have one target in the first half, and he only had one catch in the whole game. Seattle's offense looked horrible, and I lost. However, it seems that the top 4 teams in the league lost, except for Montreal Beavers, the defending champ Nick. So he's back in first place. Pug Posse fell to second, and I am still in third. And I have clinched, the top 3 of us, me and Frank and Nick, have all clinched a playoff spot. Now, it would be nice to jump up to second some way or another in the final 2 games of the regular season. So then I have a first round bye. But, you know, at this point, that does not look likely. And I play Where's Huddles this week. That is Ed, if you ever listen to that Real Blind Tech show. He is who I'm playing this week. He is actually a Villanova grad and lives up in New York on Long Island and has a crazy commute, he told me. And it's crazy how long he is on the train each day to go to work. So I did lose there, but I won in hockey, and it was unlikely that I was going to win because going into the last day, I was trailing and I still had one pickup I could do. So as I sometimes do, I looked around and found a guy playing that day just so I would have enough points. And I looked back and I was playing Brian, who is the commissioner in that league as well. I like his team name is Hanson Bros Hockey. He hasn't won a game. And I thought his first win was going to come against me, but it didn't. Because I picked up this guy. I couldn't tell you the guy's name. I don't even remember what team he played for. But I knew he had a game on Sunday, and I thought, well, you know, if he's got a pulse, maybe, you know, he'll get me a couple of points. It turns out he got me 5 points, and I won by 2.8 points. So it was a good thing I picked that guy up. That's all I got to say. So it's going to be a tough one this week. I'm playing the guy in second place. And we'll see how that goes. Right now I'm trailing, but it is only Thursday as I record this, so we'll see how it goes the rest of the way. But it is so much fun. And one very cool thing before I get off the fantasy sports thing, and I know you're probably tired of me talking about it, but I've been going back and forth with Brian via email, and there is a conference this week called Site Tech Global. It ran yesterday and today, and Brian was actually one of the presenters. He was on a roundtable discussion about accessibility. It's all obviously about technology for blind and visually impaired folks. He was on a committee or a roundtable, I guess I should say, with Larry Goldberg, who moderated. And Larry Goldberg is the head of accessibility at Yahoo, and someone I had talked to the day of the filming of the video. Well, the video was shown at this conference, which was very cool. So I was watching that today. Now, I was having some technical issues. There was a girl there from Spotify talking about that, and there was someone from Peloton, and I was very interested in that, but that's when my connection crapped out. So I'm hoping that I can go back and watch later. It seemed like it was recorded anyway, so I'm hoping that later on I'll be able to go back and take a listen. Again, especially, obviously with Brian, I knew, he was talking about how it became the Yahoo app, how he hounded them to make it accessible. And, going back like 8 years. And it was just very interesting. And the person from Spotify was talking about, making sure that the app was accessible to everyone. So it was very cool. And, again, it just, the showing of the video just brought it to more people. And, hopefully it'll get some more publicity around it. And Yahoo will get some good press over it for making it as accessible as it is. Again, it's the best one, that I've ever used. And, it's gotten to the point as, over the last few months, as I've been talking about how my vision hasn't been great. And, I probably do more now on my phone than I do on my computer, because I have to listen to it more times than not. It's just easier to listen to my phone than try and look at something on the screen. A lot of times I'll look at something on my screen and I don't trust what I'm seeing because I can zoom in as much as I want, but sometimes it's just not enough. And Jane laughed at me the other day when I had said something like I said, I think it says this, but I don't believe my eyes. And that is not some sort of sports reference for that one call. I think it was in baseball where I don't believe what I just saw. I mean, I usually don't believe what I saw. And so it's very cool. Another cool thing while I'm talking about Brian and listening, Brian was talking on his podcast about Paramount Plus, which is something I want to get because I love the show SEAL Team. And, they played 4 episodes this year on CBS and then it moved to Paramount Plus. Well, he had gotten the app and he was watching, he wasn't talking about SEAL Team. He watches SWAT, Bull, and Magnum PI. Now, Liz and I watch Magnum PI together. So she does when she's not falling asleep, she does the descriptions when I need it. It's, look, sometimes I need it more than others because, the dialogue isn't telling me what's going on. But I watch SWAT and Bull on my own unless Jane is home. Then Jane will watch Bull with me. And sometimes I have no idea what's going on. I was watching a show the other night that it was FBI International, and, I didn't know what had happened at the end. In fact, I watched it 2 or 3 times to see if I could figure out what was going on. And it was right at the end, so I still really don't know what happened. It was from an episode, it was 3 episodes back. I'm 3 episodes behind, so I'm not quite sure. It was the one where they were in Krakow, Poland. If you've seen that, please let me know what they were finding it buried in 1817. Or putting near somebody who was buried in 1817, because I really don't know. I really have no idea what was going on there. So, but all of those shows now are described on the Paramount Plus app. I'll have to look to see when the next time SWAT is on, when I record it on the DVR, if I can get to the described audio, because that would be very cool. Most of the time, I could kind of figure out what's going on, not all the time. So it'll be, I'll have to try it and see. see what the story is. I have to tell you, I'm struggling today with my voice because I don't have any water here with me, and BJ's hasn't had Evian on sale, so I'm going without water because I don't like to keep an open glass of water, close by, and that's why I guess that's first world problems, right? Let's get into the meat of what I want to talk about. I told you last week on Thanksgiving that Ziggy had eaten some palmiers that Liz had made. Liz was transferring them from the tray that she cooked them on in the oven to a plate, and her hand tilted and they all slid off. All the ones that were on the plate slid off onto the floor. And of course, Ziggy loves tomatoes. He's gotten into tomato sauce before. Well, these palmiers were savory, not sweet. And so it's basically puff pastry, sun-dried tomatoes, Parmesan Reggiano, and basil, and I think some oil, olive oil. Well, they were just out of the oven, so we scarfed a couple down. We don't know how many. We figure most, maybe 2 or 3. One of them he threw up, so we're not quite sure. But for the rest of the day, he didn't seem right. And that night, Thanksgiving night, Liz took him to the vet. And it's not the vet that we normally go to because, of course, most normal vets are closed. This is an animal hospital out in Norristown. I've talked about it before. It's probably a half an hour, 40 minutes away when there's no traffic. And when she had called, they said, expect, a 4 to 5 hour turnaround from the time you're in to the time you're out. And, she's like, should we go? Should we not go? So she went. And she was actually only gone about an hour and a half because they saw him. They thought he looked great. He is one of those types of dogs that when he's around new things or around other people, he's very excited and very happy. He's, going up to people and going up to other dogs and whatnot. So they thought he was fine. So that night, Liz brings him back, and that night he drooling like you wouldn't believe. I mean, if you ever saw the movie Turner and Hooch, the way that dog drooled, and that was a Mastiff. So if you're familiar with that, and then they do the shaking thing, and the drool goes everywhere. And Ziggy was not doing the shaking bit like that, but he was just drooling everywhere, and it was thick and gross, and we were coated in it. Well, he had basically stopped drinking, and he really wouldn't eat much other than, he ate a banana. He wouldn't eat his food. And I was actually recording last week's podcast when it was dinner time for him. And when I came up from recording the podcast, Liz was concerned because she said, oh, he didn't eat dinner. And I said, oh, I didn't know. You didn't mention it. She said, well, you were recording that. I couldn't mention it. So we were on the fence going back and forth. Should we take him? Should we not take him? Finally, we decided, she should take him. And I wasn't done finishing the podcast, meaning, once I record it, I have to do a little processing. Then I upload it. Then I have to, do a couple other things. It wasn't completely done. And Liz didn't want to wait anymore. So she ended up taking him on her own. And, again, like I said, they were back within an hour and a half or so. So the whole night we're watching him. And then, I realized at that point, once he's drooling and he wasn't really drinking anything, I'm thinking, I'm going to have to stay up with him. And Jane stayed with me for, a good chunk of the time. But, I told her to go to sleep and, we'll see how it was. I mean, I was so concerned because he wasn't drinking water. He would eat a banana, carrot he didn't eat, and he loves carrots. I mean, carrots are something, if he's doing something, he shouldn't be doing in the backyard, and I just open the door and say, carrot, he comes running. I say that for just about any food, and he comes running, to be honest. But, carrot is one that, chicken, banana, apple, broccoli. So, we knew that was going to be, and I knew it was going to be an issue. I had given him at around 2 so we put him, he sleeps in his crate, and I don't know why we call it a crate. It's a cage. I call it his room. Basically you say night night. He knows that's where he has to go, and not necessarily just to go to sleep at night, but sometimes if I have to do something during the day, I'll say to him earlier. I'll say, listen, buddy, I'm sorry, you got to go in. You're gonna have to go into your room for a little bit today, and I was doing a podcast recording for White Canes Connect a couple days ago, and he had to go in there. And again, I don't like to do that because, we didn't get a dog to put him in a cage. We got a dog so he could be part of the family. If he wants to go in there, that's fine. And he will go in there on occasion, but it's usually just he has a platypus that that he sleeps with that he's had since he was, actually we got it before he was even born. That we sent to the breeder so it could get the mom's smell on it. So that stays in there with him. So if he brings you that, if you ever come over to visit and he brings you that that is a good gift. And it's funny because he hasn't shredded it yet. We give him stuff and he can shred it. I'll say to, Liz or Liz and Jane when Jane was home or all four of us, the over under for this lasting is 7 minutes. And there was something we gave him a few weeks ago. If you took the under, you were the winner. And, it's just amazing how he goes through stuff. So we put him in for bed, but he wasn't laying down. He wouldn't even lay down, or if he laid down, he wouldn't put his head down. And we were thinking that not only did he burn his mouth, but he burned his throat. And, so we stayed with him the whole night, and we were trying to get him to lay down and trying to get him. He likes when we open the window that's right near the cage. He sleeps sometimes in front of it, outside of the cage, and on occasion, now that he's bigger, he will lay his head on the windowsill and just fall asleep while he's looking out the window, which he loves. So he was doing that for a little bit and falling asleep a little bit. But he just was so restless, and finally, I'm laying there next to him, and his head is resting on my arm, like kind of on his side. His head is on his side, his body was not. And I don't know why he didn't lay like that, because to me that would have been more comfortable. But whatever, we knew that there was something wrong. Again, he wasn't drinking. Well, at around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I got him to eat. I got an apple. And instead of cutting it at that hour, because, I'm not a big fan of cutting apples. Sometimes the knife slides off. I can't see exactly what I'm doing, obviously. So, basically I was using, as I call them, the knives in my mouth, my teeth, and just biting a hunk off and giving him some, which he did okay with a couple of pieces. But after a couple of pieces, he still couldn't do that. And I gave him some blueberries, and that he did okay with. But again, he wasn't drinking. So when Liz got up, and she gets up around 5:15, she came down and saw me laying with him on the floor. And he was, I think he was still, he may have been sleeping. I was not. She said, what happened? And I explained everything to her. She said, all right, I want to take him over. And I said, all right, go get in the shower first. And then, I'll stay with him for, another however long. So, she does that, and this time she was gone longer. Now, the issue with Friday, Black Friday, was not that we were going to go shopping, but I was scheduled to get my COVID booster shot that day. And as luck would have it, I am less than a 7-minute walk to a CVS pharmacy. As I've talked to you about getting the PCR test when I was doing the video in New York, and, I could walk over there. Well, of course, that CVS has the Pfizer vaccine. I had to go to one in Brookhaven, ironically, in the property that my parents sold and where the video store was that I operated for 13 years, to get the Moderna, because that's, I didn't trust the mix and match. My entire life they say, oh, you can't take this and this at the same time or combine the two. So, I'm not going to start now with something like this. I was getting the booster and that was that. So, I'm starting to think, I had asked Jane the night before. I said, look, when Mom takes Ziggy back to the vet, I said, would you be okay going with me? And, as I'm thinking about it throughout the night after Jane went to bed, I'm thinking, why I don't want to go for this. Why? I'm sure she doesn't want to go. I'll go on my own. First of all, it'll be better. I'll have more to talk about, in a podcast maybe. If she went with me, that's kind of like cheating. And I'll get into that in a minute. So, when Liz came back down after she showered, I thought, okay, I have a chance to go upstairs and lay down for, 2.5 hours, before I had to get up to, to get in the shower and go take the shot. And, you're saying, well, why would you get in the shower if you didn't sleep that much? And I need, even with a little bit of sleep like that, the psoriatic arthritis, I wouldn't be able to move if I didn't get into the warm water. So I did that. I went to bed at like 6:45, I guess, 5:45, and got up at 9. So 3 hours. Okay, so that's even better than I thought. Maybe I got up before at 9. Somewhere in that ballpark. It was around 3 hours, I guess. So, she takes him, and I don't hear from her, the whole time. And I'm telling you, I was very concerned. Again, because he was very lethargic, because he wasn't drinking. He was still peeing all the time. I mean, which was crazy. I mean, I guess it was all the drool. It almost made me laugh how much he was going without drinking anything. And, so I haven't heard from Liz. I'm going, now it's time I've got to go. I guess right before I left, Liz had called Jane and said that, she was just waiting to get some meds and then she was going to be heading out. So I told her I was just getting ready to, get the Uber and head over to Brookhaven, which is not very far, 4 or 5 miles, I guess, from where we live. And again, it's very cool going back over there on occasion because, I spent so many years, going into that location. And again, it's a different building. They knocked down where my video store was and put up a brand new building for the CVS. So, I order the Uber and it's it's getting closer and 2 minutes, I'm talking to Jane and I figured, let me go outside and wait. And it's really blustery on Black Friday that day. So I'm out there and I'm kind of cold and I had on a hoodie that I knew that since I was going to, get this shot, I was going to wear something that I could just change out of when I got home. I didn't know, where I was going to put the hoodie when I had to get the shot. I certainly wasn't going to go in a t-shirt. So I actually, the t-shirt I did wear that day, by the way, was an iCantCU podcast t-shirt. So nobody asked me about it, even though I had that and my mask on. But, I'm waiting for the Uber and finally it pulls up. Well, again, I wasn't sure it pulled up because, I love the Uber app. It says, check the license plate. Okay, I'm happy if I can see a car pulled up, let alone find the license plate because I know it's on the back of the car, but it's not always in the same exact spot. Sometimes it's down low, hanging below any kind of gate or trunk. Sometimes it is on the back gate if it's an SUV or van. So a car pulls up, lady doesn't say anything. And finally, I just go over and I'm figuring this must be it. Let me go check. And I open the back door and I forget the girl's name. And I said, I think it was Emily or Emma. I said, Emma, and they said, yes. I said, okay. I get in. She doesn't really say more than that to me. And we drive over to the CVS. Meanwhile, she's on the phone talking, but she has KYW News Radio on, which is the only news station in Philadelphia. And it's not even that great anymore from what it used to be. But they do have the traffic every 10 minutes like most news stations do. So as she's on the phone talking, I'm listening to, the traffic, and they're talking about some kind of crazy accident on I-476, which in this area is called the Blue Route because when it was built, they drew 3 lines, a red, a yellow, and a blue, and they picked the blue one, hence its name. It's not the official name, but everybody still calls it that. I mean, decades after the whole thing was planned. I mean, this thing was planned in the 50s or 60s and finally completed in the 90s. So the fact that it's called the Blue Route is kind of funny to me. But it's called 476. It has an official title. I don't even know what it is. It's like Veterans Memorial Highway or something like that. Again, don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. So I'm listening to that and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to mess Liz up coming home because, again, she is, way out there. And I figured, I'll worry about that once I get the shot and everything. So we get to the CVS. The driver says to me, okay, we're here. And, I hop out. I thank her. I hop out. And I, walk into the store. The one nice thing about CVS, even before I was getting, walked into the store, I got emails and I got text messages, telling me about it. And I got one earlier that day, both an email and a text message say, hey, your appointment's today for your booster shot. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I don't recall any of them saying, bring your card with you. Now, I did bring my card with me because I figured I would need it. Although, after I thought about it, I'm thinking I'm going to CVS. I would like to see the card they would give me. If it's half as long as most of their receipts, it would be as long as my leg. And I just thought that would be cool. And I guess for all the booster shots I'll be needing in the future, there would be plenty of space to write them in. But I did take my card with me. And when I walked into the door, I stepped aside and it said, I had gotten a text message about half an hour before. It said, when you click this link in the text message. And I thought, okay, what am I in for when I click this link? Is it going to be accessible? Am I going to be able to use it? And it was. I was surprised. But it said this: once you walk in, check in with this, click this link to check in, which I did. And once I did that, it said, all right, now follow the signs to where you get the shot. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if there were signs up or not. Of course, I couldn't see them. And as I'm sweeping back and forth with my cane, I could feel that there's stuff on the floor. I don't know if that was social distancing things. I don't know if they were ads for, whatever. But I kind of remembered the pharmacy, like most of them, the pharmacy's in the back. Sometimes it's in the back corner. I'm not quite sure. This was kind of, the pharmacy in this one was kind of in the middle, in the back in the middle. I was going to the back right corner from the front door. So I came in Los Angeles and I had to go to Maine, basically, using the analogy of a U.S. map. Again, I didn't know it for sure, but I headed to the back. And once I got to the back, I heard the guy at the pharmacy talking to people. I could tell that there were people standing around. I wasn't sure if they were waiting to get the vaccine or if they were, waiting in line for, meds. And as I'm standing there behind someone, I hear two people talking, further off further into the corner. And, somebody saying, yeah, I've got it. I don't remember what time. I want to say 11:30. I've got an 11:30. I have Goldstein at 11:30, and then she mentioned some other names at either 12 or something like that. And I heard my name, so I walked around a couple of people that I am assuming were in a line or they were waiting for their meds to be filled or whatever. And I walked over there and I said, "Hi, I think you just mentioned my name. I'm David Goldstein." And they said, "Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just have a seat right there." And, again, I didn't, I'm assuming she pointed, I don't know. But I tapped around a little bit and I found the chairs, I took off my hoodie and, pushed my sleeve up a little bit. And I wasn't going to sit down. And I don't know how tall the person was. I'm guessing she was a little shorter than me. And I'll mention that in a second. I sat down. She, I gave her my card, which, again, I was glad I brought with me, even though none of the emails I read talked about that. And again, maybe I missed it, but I'm glad I brought it with. Gave her the card. She said, "I'm going to give you the shot, and then I'm going to hold this for 15 minutes, and then you come back for it." She didn't tell me to sit down and wait. Like, when I had the first two shots, they said, sit here and wait for 15 minutes and to make sure you're okay. And, then as long as everything is good, you can leave. She didn't even tell me I had to sit there. I'll get to what I did after the shot in a minute. So I sit down in the chair, and she bing, bang, boom, gives me the shot, puts a Band-Aid on that was, I don't know what kind of glue was on that Band-Aid, but man, was that hard getting off, the next day. The only reason I took it off because I thought it would come off in the shower. Once I tried to get it off, I'm not sure it would have come off ever, on its own. It was like adhered to my skin. I just didn't want it to come off somewhere. And, once it fell off, if it did fall off on its own, I never would find it. So that's why I wanted to rip it off. So, I figured, okay, what am I going to do now for 15 minutes? I said, I'll just walk around the store. And again, I don't want to say it was busy, but there were people in there. And one thing I don't like doing is I don't like to whack people with the cane, and I try not to if I notice them, because it's annoying to people, especially if I'm coming up behind them. And I do it to Liz all the time. And, another thing that I do if I'm following someone and I'm sweeping, sometimes I'll get too close, and as they're walking and they're picking up their heel will hit the cane and drive it back towards me. And I know one day it's going to whack me right in the mouth. This happens when I'm with Liz a lot. If I'm behind her and I'm following her through like a tight space in a store or a restaurant or whatever. So I know that's going to happen. It happened when we had gone out to dinner on Saturday night with Alex and his family, and we had gone to the bathroom, and I'm following him, and I got him on the back, on his heel or on his calf or whatever, and fortunately it didn't drive up into my face. It missed wide left. I'm being careful. I'm trying to go down aisles where I kind of think there's nobody in, and again, I can't see that great, so when I might start down them, maybe there's nobody down there, or I didn't see the person all the way at the other end, or somebody is, turned down there. But it was interesting walking around the store. I'm walking around and just trying to get an idea of what I'm looking at. And I thought, I'm going to take my phone out and I'm going to use, Seeing AI or Envision, and just to see what I'm looking at, because I get to what I think is the holiday aisle. And I'm looking at the stuff, and I get to this section that has all of these different gingerbread houses. And I hesitate to call them all gingerbread houses because Oreo was there. Oreo has one, and I think we did them last year or the year before. Sour Patch has some, and they're all different, things. Some are houses, some are mansions. And I didn't see this one there, but it was one that Liz had got from me, and Jane looked at the instructions and thought, oh, there is no way any of us are going to be able to build this. It was a stadium, a gingerbread stadium. So I don't know if Liz took that back already, but she got me something else, something that's a little easier. And it's like a ski chalet or something. It's basically like a triangle that you stick together. And again, I'll have pictures somewhere on social media once we build those around Christmas. But I sent her a picture. They had a giant stuffed Snoopy doll. And then I found a Halloween section on, clearance section. And, I'm just basically walking down the aisle holding my phone out to the side and just listening to what it's telling me is there. Some of it wasn't as cool. Some of it was just, just telling me, detergent or, soda or whatever. So I'm texting, Liz to see, or actually looking to see where Liz is on her way home. The one cool thing, and I don't know that I ever mentioned this, when you give permission to, where's your friend or whatever that is, find my phone or find your friend or whatever. Liz and I and Jane have all done that. So, at any moment you can, see where somebody is. Well, it wasn't working for Liz. So when I would do it a lot, late in the afternoon to let Ziggy know that, hey, she's almost here. Let's go. He loves to watch the front window when it's almost time for her to come home. And he gets all excited, of course, when he sees the car. And so I thought, let me see if it's working and I'll see where she is. And I saw where she was. And again, I didn't see where she was, but because it uses Apple Maps is accessible, meaning you can drag your finger around the screen and it will tell you, this road or that road or, some things that are close by, McDonald's or whatever's nearby. So it kind of gives me an idea where she is. And of course it does that with voiceover on. If you don't have voiceover on, it's not, don't take it out and try to do it now. You got to have voiceover on for it to do that. So, I see that she's almost there. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go wait outside. And I walked to the front, and this was a mistake on my part. I walked to the front after I got my card from the back corner of the store. I just walked up one of those aisles down that end of the store. So that means I had to cross where any of the lines were for the checkout. So I should have gone along the back and just come up, the other side where there would have been less people. But again, because I have to dodge through people, they have displays and stuff. So I'm walking and I'm being very careful. Again, because I don't want to whack people. I know I don't want to get whacked, on the, foot, ankle, shin, whatever. But I navigate through most of the people and I'm approaching something in the middle. And I figure, well, I thought it was a display or a dump bin or something. Well, as I'm approaching it, I hear some lady, shout out, "Watch it, you're coming up to a display, watch it." And then she grabs me and moves me aside. And I said, "Thank you, my cane would have touched it." So that brings us to a new feature.
Blind People For Dummies Tip of the Week.
As you can tell, I spared no expense. So here's the tip of the week. The white cane that blind people use are meant to touch things, not in an inappropriate way. They are meant to feel an obstacle. They are there to stop us from walking into something. Had that woman waited for me to take one more step, my cane would have touched that display, made a sound, and I would have said, "Oh, there's something there. I got to move to the left or the right." At which time I would have probably tried to feel which side I should have gone around and just walked around it. So again, the white cane is there to stop us from running into things. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to touch and hit other things so our body parts don't. That is the tip of the week. You don't have to grab somebody to prevent them from running into something. You could use your words and say, "Hey, you're going to run into a display. You should stop." Again, I don't know that I would know that you were talking to me, but you don't have to grab somebody. And that's the worst thing you could do is grab somebody. So I guess we actually have 2 tips this week. Maybe I have to redo that. that I guess it should be tips of the week. So again, the cane is meant to touch something so we don't have to. I wasn't walking that fast. And I usually do walk fast, as I've mentioned. I usually do walk at a pretty good clip. But I knew that there were lines of people in the store. And I'm not sure why people were lining up at the CVS and what they had on sale. That people would go there on Black Friday. Maybe they were just, maybe it was just a regular Friday to most folks. And they were, getting meds. And I don't know what else you would buy at CVS because you could get it cheaper at 8 million other places. Unless you love, unless you're redoing a room in retro CVS receipts. Maybe you're papering your walls over the years. The price is over the years. And I tried not to be agitated by this woman. But again, if you were walking down the street and somebody said, "Watch it," and then grabbed you and moved you one way or another, I don't know. It irritated me. And again, trying not to be a jerk about it. And listen, I told you about the Hernandez tone I have, so I'm sure I was probably a jerk, at least a little. I said, thank you, but I got it, or something along those lines. You could ask me, hey, can I help you out? At that point, I wouldn't have known because I wasn't close enough to the display to let my cane hit it. So I don't know what you would be helping me with. Again, the cane is there to stop me from walking into those things. If it's something that's hanging down from the ceiling that my cane wouldn't have hit, it's a different story. You could, tell me to watch there's something hanging down or move whatever's hanging down. But again, you don't have to grab someone. I know a couple of years ago, I heard someone on another podcast, they were trying to get the hashtag just ask, don't grab, or don't grab, just ask. I don't remember which was first, but it was those 4 words. Not quite sure of the order. So I made my way after that. And again, I was a little agitated by that. And, but I thought, it's a good story. And I guess I could have used it to teach that lady a little bit more. But I didn't. And I guess that's on me, for not doing that. And who knows if she would have been receptive to it or not. She was going to say, might have said, hey, you're going to walk into that display. And, the cane, most white canes, unless you're Donna from the Keystone chapter, most white canes are ones that go up to about your chin. If you walk faster, it's a little bit longer. You don't walk as fast, it's a little bit shorter. And we all made fun of Donna's cane because it basically looks like a magic wand because it's so short. And, we talked to her about that. And I don't think she got a new one yet. But hopefully I'll see her in a couple of weeks at the Keystone chapter anniversary party / holiday party and / meeting. And, we can see, we can talk about it. Hers is very short though. Almost to the point where it looks like she'd have to bend over just to have it, out in front of her a little bit to sweep back and forth. So I went outside and I'm waiting for Liz. And it was cold out. And I'm thinking, man, why am I waiting out here? She's not here yet. I'm going to go back in. And instead of going back into the store completely, I waited. If you're familiar with CVS's, a lot of them have like the vestibule where they have those sliding doors that open and close. And I was just standing in there waiting. It was not as warm as the store, but I really didn't want to go back in after that incident, let's call it. And I just waited in there and, then Liz pulled up. I went outside, a couple minutes later just to see, if Liz had pulled up. And I did notice a car pull up and I'm waiting and she didn't say anything. And I'm, again, our car is not that old. It's white. There's a lot of white cars. I wasn't 100% sure. And then it started making me think of the Uber driver who didn't say anything. And finally I started walking towards it and she rolled down the window and said something to me, something funny. And I knew I was getting in the right car. And then we went home and sooner or later I took a long nap, probably about as long as I slept that night. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So now I have had 2.5 jabs, because I can't call that a full jab of the Moderna because it was only half the amount. And I actually, early on, I probably could have gotten an entire dose of the Moderna because of my immune system. Any kind of psoriatic disease is an autoimmune problem. And my doctor told me early on when I told her I hadn't gotten the vaccine, she's like, oh, why? You have a, immune issue, so you should get it. And, so I could have gotten, I thought early on, they were saying you could get a 3rd dose. It was, whatever it is, it's fine. Who knows what's going to happen with that and, the new variant and whatnot. I wonder what they're going to do once they run out of Greek letters. Especially since they're skipping some for unknown reasons. I mean, we know the reasons, but let's just call them unknown now. So that is my story. And I do appreciate you listening. And again, I would remind you, if you are shopping at Amazon.com this holiday season or at any time at all, if you would use my link, iCantCU.com/Amazon, and that will take you right to Amazon's homepage. You shop, you do whatever you do at Amazon, which is buy stuff. You check out, and I earn a small commission. In the ballpark of 3 or 4% for most of the items. There's a few items, luxury beauty. I need a lot of beauty for something, but I don't know if it's luxury or not. It'd be luxury for the other people, so they're not looking at this. And I do appreciate it. Luxury beauty is, by the way, it's 10%. So if you really need some sort of high-end blow dryer or something, I don't know what else is considered luxury there. But yeah, please do. Again, iCantCU.com/Amazon. And it doesn't cost you anything more when you help us out with that. And it would help pay for hosting and whatnot that I pay each month. I really do appreciate you listening as well. And I can mention this. It has been 3 years since the podcast launch. It was December of 2018 when my first episodes dropped. The first one I actually had recorded probably about 6 months to a year earlier, but I was using an old computer that was giving me all sorts of issues. So I didn't record the second one, and I actually didn't drop any episodes until I had 4, because at the time that was what you were supposed to do, drop a few episodes at once, which is what I did. And I want to say it was December 4th was when the episodes first dropped. And I do appreciate it if you've been along the way and you're one of the 10,107 downloads along the way. I do appreciate that. And thank you for sticking with me, and thank you for sticking to the end of this to hear this part of it. So if you do have any questions, comments, show ideas, please reach out. 2 ways. You can call 646-926-6350. Leave a message. You have up to 3 minutes. Please leave your name and town. And if you do leave a message there, you are letting me know that, hey, I have your permission to use it in an upcoming episode, and I would appreciate that. That would be fun to do. You can also email me, iCantCUpodcast@gmail.com. Again, whatever you need to tell me, please do. And I'd also appreciate it if you rate, reviewed, and shared the podcast with your friends, or if you don't like it that much, with people you hate. Or with people that maybe need to fall asleep at night, and this would be something that would be right up their alley to help them do that. But I do appreciate it. Again, iCantCUpodcast@gmail.com or 646-926-6350 if you want to leave a voice message. Again, I would appreciate to hear from you either way. And again, social media, at David Benj, everywhere that's important, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm not really on TikTok. I'd love to be. It's too hard for me to figure out how to do the videos and put the stuff in there because, it's not really that accessible. Again, I do appreciate listening to episode 157 of the iCantCU podcast. Show notes are available at iCantCU.com/157. Remember, iCantCU sounds like a whole sentence, but it's only 7 characters long. iCantCU.com/157. Thank you so much. I hope you are staying safe, you are well, and I'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to the I Can't See You podcast with David. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. And don't forget to share the podcast with your friends.